"What's next?" Daxton laughed, handing her the violin. "You gonna play Beethoven for a tip?" The restaurant chuckled until Bella tucked the violin under her chin, and the first note made the room fall dead silent. 2 hours earlier, Bella Jones was wiping down table 4 with hands that had known stage lights and thunderous applause, and now knew only dish soap and minimum wage. The Metropolitan room in Glen Cove was luxury defined, mahogany floors, gold-plated menus, a wine list that could pay off most people's rent. But for Bella, it was just another shift, just another night of being invisible. Her uniform was too tight, her shoes too cheap, but her silence, that was perfect. Because silence didn't reveal the past. Silence didn't scream, "You used to be somebody." She didn't talk much. She didn't smile unless tipped. But her eyes, dark, tired, observant, never stopped moving. That night, the reservation list glowed with a name she hadn't seen in nearly a decade, Daxton Lewis. She froze when she saw it. Her manager had circled the name in red ink like it was royalty. "VVIP," he said. "Don't screw this up." Bella didn't say anything. She just nodded and went to refill the wine glasses at table 14. Across the room, Daxton entered like he owned the air. Black suit, no tie. Rolex glinting. Arm hooked around his wife Ariana, who walked like she had stock in every building they passed. They were the kind of couple tabloids built empires on. Daxton hadn't aged badly. In fact, he looked richer, sharper, colder. Bella didn't expect him to recognize her, and he didn't. Not when she brought their appetizers. Not when she cleared the used napkins. Not even when she stood just feet away, silently watching as he picked up the restaurant's display violin, a prop that sat on a velvet stand near the piano. "Bet I could still play something," he said with a smirk. Ariana laughed. "God, please don't embarrass us." He dragged the bow lazily across the strings. It screeched. He grinned. And Bella flinched. He used to laugh at classical music, said it was boring, said it would never feed her. And now here he was pretending to be the thing he once destroyed. Her voice was quiet, but firm. "Would you mind if I played?" Daxton looked up, blinked. "You?" Ariana raised an eyebrow. "You play?" Bella nodded. "I used to." Daxton chuckled, already holding out the violin like a joke. "What's next?" he said. "You gonna play Beethoven for a tip?" Laughter fluttered through the tables around them. Even Ariana chuckled behind her wineglass. Bella didn't flinch. She took the violin and walked to the small open space near the grand piano. She didn't speak. She just tucked it beneath her chin, closed her eyes, and played. The first note was clean, sharp, alive. The second note silenced the laughter. The third note made forks freeze halfway to mouths. Ariana stared. Daxton leaned forward. Bella kept playing, pulling music from the strings like she'd been waiting 10 years to speak. The whole restaurant fell into a trance. There were no plates clinking, no phones ringing, only Bella, and a storm of sound the room wasn't ready for. And suddenly, Daxton remembered. The girl from Juilliard, the violin prodigy who gave up everything to follow him. The night he walked out of that music competition and never came back. And the letter she sent, unread, unopened. His grip tightened on the tablecloth. The last note floated in the air, trembling like it didn't want to leave. Bella slowly lowered the violin. She didn't bow. She didn't smile. She just looked up and met Daxton's eyes. His mouth was parted slightly, as if caught mid-thought. But no words came out, not a single one. For a moment, he wasn't Daxton Lewis, the billionaire, the husband, the man with 3 yachts and a tech empire. He was just a guy who'd watched a ghost walk back into the room holding a violin he once said was worthless. The restaurant burst into applause. People stood. Waiters paused to clap. Even the pianist wiped his eyes. Bella said nothing. She handed the violin back to the stand, gently like placing a child to sleep. Then she turned to leave. But Ariana wasn't clapping. She was watching her husband, his face, his hands, the way he hadn't looked at her since the music started. Bella returned to the floor, back to the noise of cutlery and champagne and whispered gossip. The applause faded, but Daxton didn't. He was still watching her, still frozen. Ariana leaned in. "You know her," she said flatly. Daxton blinked, finally turning away. "No. Just a waitress. Probably some music student who didn't make it." Ariana didn't believe him. And Bella. Bella didn't care if he lied. In the staff room, Bella leaned against the lockers, her breath finally catching up to her. Her hands were still shaking, not from fear but from release, from everything she'd bottled for years finally screaming its way out of her fingertips. A waitress poked her head in. "Girl, they're still talking about you out there." Bella just nodded. Meanwhile, back at table 14, Daxton poured himself another glass of wine. The violin sat silently in its cradle, like it was mocking him. He rubbed his face. Ariana sipped her drink slowly. "You laughed at her," she said. "It was a joke," Daxton muttered. "No," she said. "It was a mistake." Bella returned to the floor just as dessert was being served. She walked past table 14 with quiet grace, and as she passed, Daxton spoke just one word barely above a whisper. "Bella?" She didn't stop, didn't turn. She just kept walking, like she hadn't heard him. But she had. Oh, she had. Some stories don't need revenge to land, just the truth, played out loud. And if you're still watching this moment, if you felt that first note the way the entire restaurant did, then don't just sit there. Subscribe. Because creators like us live for this kind of storytelling, and we'll keep bringing you more if you stick around. The next morning, the restaurant's buzz was all about the waitress with the violin. Did you hear she used to tour in Europe? I bet she's one of those America's Got Talent dropouts. No way she's just a server. Bella ignored it all. She wore the same uniform, served the same tables, smiled the same tired smile. But now, her invisibility was gone, and she hated it. Because now he knew. Daxton hadn't slept. He kept replaying the moment, her fingers, her tone, the way she didn't even flinch at the crowd's gaze. She owned the room. He sat in the back of his black SUV, scrolling through his phone, searching for her name. Bella Jones. Nothing. No social media. No interviews. No recent performances. She had disappeared after Juilliard. After him. What the hell happened to her? He stared out the tinted window as the car rolled past the harbor. The memory of her playing back at the restaurant, echoing. Bella's manager pulled her aside. "Hey," he said, softer than usual. "Table 9. He requested you." She didn't even ask who. She already knew. Daxton sat alone without Ariana this time, a latte untouched in front of him. Bella walked up with a blank notepad and no expression. "Coffee still hot?" she asked flatly. He smiled a little, nervous, like a kid in trouble. "You were amazing last night," he said. "Seriously." She didn't respond. "I didn't know you still played," he added. Bella looked him in the eyes. "You didn't know a lot of things." He winced, just a flicker. I didn't recognize you." She nodded. "Of course not. I wasn't wearing a dress and hope this time." Daxton swallowed. "I was young, stupid," he said. "I didn't know what to do back then." "So you did nothing," Bella cut in. Silence. A couple at the next table glanced over, sensing the tension. Bella took a quiet breath and straightened her apron. "I'm not here to unpack your guilt," she said. "Do you want anything besides coffee?" Daxton blinked. "I just wanted to talk." Bella wrote something on her notepad, then turned it around. "I'm not on your calendar." She walked away. Daxton sat there, stunned. She hadn't raised her voice. She hadn't cried. She hadn't demanded anything. She simply gave him what he gave her years ago. Nothing. Across town, Ariana sat at a breakfast cafe alone. Her assistant had just sent over the security footage from the restaurant, Bella's performance, the way Daxton looked at her, the silence afterward. She hit replay, and replay again. Ariana wasn't stupid. She knew the look of regret. And worse, the look of what if. The Metropolitan Room was hosting its annual Classical Cuisine Night, a private, invite-only event featuring live music from hand-selected performers and a 5-course tasting menu curated by a Michelin-starred chef. Bella hadn't been scheduled to work that night, but at 3:00 p.m. she got a call. Her manager sounded desperate. 2 servers called out, "Full house, we're underwater. Please, Bella, I'll double your shift pay." She hesitated, then agreed. That night, the restaurant was humming with strings, soft lighting, and tablecloths that cost more than her rent. Bella tied her apron tighter, breathing deep. As she walked through the candlelit space, she heard her name. "Bella?" She turned. Her heart stopped. Ariana Lewis stood near the back of the room, elegant in navy silk, diamond earrings catching the chandelier light. "I requested you for our table tonight," Ariana said, voice even. "I hope that's okay." Bella swallowed hard. "Of course, ma'am." Table 11. Daxton sat there. So did Ariana. The silence when Bella approached was deafening. She set the menus down without looking at either of them. "Still no social media?" Ariana asked casually. Bella blinked. "Excuse me?" Ariana smiled, sipping her wine. "I tried to look you up after the other night. Nothing. Like you vanished. That takes effort in today's world." Bella offered a polite, empty smile. "Privacy is cheaper than therapy." Daxton shifted uncomfortably. "I'd love to know where you trained," Ariana continued. "Your technique, flawless. Like someone raised inside music." Bella didn't answer that. She didn't need to. The tension was its own conversation. Halfway through the night, the main violinist fell ill. Midway through the 3rd set, panic rippled backstage. "We need someone to finish the set," the event coordinator barked, "or we refund $20,000 in table charges." A busboy whispered something to the chef. The chef looked at Bella. "You played last week. They're still talking about it." Bella froze. "No," she said, "I'm just here to work." But the manager was already walking over, violin case in hand. "Bella, I'm begging you, it's 5 minutes. Just close the set." Ariana leaned over her table, watching her. Daxton's jaw was tight. Bella sighed. She walked back toward the stage, violin in hand, same spotlight, same silence. But now, the proximity was different. Daxton was at the front of the room, and he wasn't laughing. He was watching, closely, painfully. Bella didn't play a showpiece this time. She chose something simpler, slower. The Swan, by Saint-Saëns, a piece about grace, about pain, about carrying beauty while drowning. As she played, her eyes stayed shut, but she felt him there, the weight of his gaze, the years between them, the apology that hadn't come, but was everywhere in the air. When she finished, the applause was polite, respectful, but not for her. She hadn't played for them. She'd played to survive sitting across from the man who shattered her future and the woman who now owned his last name. She returned to their table, expression blank. Ariana gave a soft clap. "Lovely," she said. "Almost mournful." Bella gave a short nod. "I'll be back with your check." She walked away. Daxton looked at his wife. "She's not who you think she is," he murmured. Ariana looked straight ahead. "No," she replied coldly. "She's exactly who you forgot she was." Bella stood outside behind the restaurant, apron folded over her arm, coat too thin for the October chill. She lit a cigarette, a habit she swore she'd dropped, and stared into the darkness. Her phone buzzed, a number she didn't know. She didn't answer. Inside, Ariana was in the lounge area, waiting for her car. Daxton approached, hands in his pockets, eyes low. "You want the truth?" he asked. Ariana didn't respond. She didn't need to. Her silence was invitation enough. Flashback, 9 years earlier. Bella's fingers flew across the strings. Her performance at Juilliard's winter showcase had ended in a standing ovation. Her professor wept. One of the scouts said, "She's the next Hilary Hahn." Backstage, she was glowing, alive. And Daxton was there, leaning against the wall in a leather jacket, smiling like he was proud of something he didn't build. He didn't understand her music, not really, but he understood her, or so she thought. That night he kissed her behind the conservatory, told her he believed in her, said she was more than just sound, said he'd support her, move with her to Europe if she got the residency. She auditioned in Paris, got accepted, but when she landed back in New York, he was gone. No call, no message, no goodbye. He'd accepted a VC investment job in San Francisco, told a mutual friend, she'll land on her feet. She always does. Back to present. I ghosted her, Daxton admitted, eyes flickering with shame. After Paris, after Juilliard, I told myself she'd be fine. I thought, it wasn't that serious. Ariana blinked. She sold her violin 6 months later, he added. I read it in a blog. Her mother died not long after. I don't even know if she ever got to tour. His voice cracked. She disappeared. Bella put out the cigarette and leaned on the cold brick wall. She didn't cry. She didn't have tears left for Daxton Lewis, but something inside her still trembled, like those strings, the ones she hadn't touched in nearly a decade. Until now. He left her when she needed him most. She vanished from music, from the spotlight, from everything, and no one asked why. You know, stories like these, they're realer than you think. So if this moment got to you, even just a little, hit subscribe. Because if we don't keep telling these stories, who will? Ariana stood, wrapping her shawl tighter. You left her with nothing, she said, and now you're wondering why she won't give you the time of day. Daxton didn't respond, because there was nothing to say. It was 11:42 p.m. The restaurant had long since closed. The tables were wiped, lights dimmed, kitchen staff gone. Bella stayed late, as she often did, cleaning quietly, avoiding home. She thought she was alone, until she heard the soft sound of strings echoing in the dining room. She froze. Violin, not hers. She followed the sound. Daxton sat alone in the corner booth, holding the violin he'd borrowed from the display. He was awful. Awkward fingers, wrong posture. Every note was slightly off. Bella leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. You're holding it like it's a weapon. He jumped, nearly dropping it. I didn't want to leave just yet, he said, setting it down carefully. Bella walked in slowly. Why are you still here? I don't know, he admitted. I think I wanted to hear the silence. She tilted her head. That doesn't sound like you. He chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck. Yeah, well, turns out life catches up, even when you're rich. He looked up. You were better than I remembered. The way you played. He trailed off. Bella sat across from him, finally. Not close, not too far, but facing him. There was a time, she said, when I would have given anything to hear you say that. Daxton's face dropped. I was scared, he said quietly. You were going somewhere I couldn't follow. And instead of being proud, I disappeared. Bella's eyes softened, but only a little. Do you know what it felt like? She asked. To win. To finally win. After years of scraping, being told I was too black, too poor, too nothing. And the one person I thought would celebrate with me just vanished? His throat tightened. I read about your mum, he said. I should have called. She laughed bitterly. No, Daxton, you should have stayed. Silence. He leaned forward, voice raw. You made me feel small, Bella. Not on purpose. Just by being so much. And I didn't know how to love someone who was already outgrowing me. Her expression cracked just slightly. Why now? She asked. Why care now? He met her eyes. Because hearing you play again made me realize I never stopped. They sat in silence. Not comfortable, but real. Somewhere between grief and peace. The clock ticked. Bella leaned back, folding her arms. Still can't play to save your life. He smiled. Want to teach me? She raised an eyebrow. Don't push it. He laughed. She almost did too. Almost. 3 nights later, the Metropolitan Room was buzzing again. This time for a private charity gala hosted by the Lewis Foundation. Daxton and Ariana were both there, of course. He in a sharp navy suit, she in crimson silk, hair swept high like royalty. Bella wasn't supposed to be on the floor that night, just behind the scenes kitchen service, but at 7:12 p.m. she was pulled from back of house. "We're short again," her manager said. "Just clear plates. Table 3. She didn't argue, until she saw who was at table 3. Ariana. And a tall man in a silver suit, not Daxton. But as Bella stepped closer, Ariana glanced up and smiled, a cold, knowing smile. "Oh," she said, sipping champagne. "How funny. They sent you." Bella stiffened. "Clear these, please," Ariana said, gesturing to the plates. Bella reached for them. "I heard you've been reconnecting with my husband," Ariana added lightly. The silver-suited man raised an eyebrow. Bella froze. "I'm sorry?" she said. "Oh, don't be," Ariana replied, sweetly venomous. "I mean, it's adorable. The violinist waitress. Him, the billionaire with a savior complex." Bella's face hardened. "I haven't asked him for anything." Ariana leaned in, her voice low. "That's what makes it so clever." Bella's eyes didn't blink. "I played," she said. "That's all." Ariana smiled wider. "You did more than play. You performed. For him. For us. And now you're waiting for what? An apology? A handout? A second chance at a fantasy that died 10 years ago?" Bella's breath caught. "I don't want his money," she said, her voice shaking. "I don't want anything from either of you." Ariana's smile vanished. "Good. Because I already gave him something you never could." Bella blinked. "What's that?" Ariana leaned closer. "The ability to forget you." Behind them, Daxton appeared, just in time to hear the last line. "Ariana," he said, voice tense. She turned. "Ask her," Ariana said, standing. "Ask your little Prodigy if she told you the whole truth." Daxton looked at Bella. Bella shook her head. "I don't know what she's talking about." But Ariana was already pulling something from her clutch. A folded piece of paper. She slapped it on the table. "You left her, Daxton." But she didn't stop writing. Bella's blood turned to ice. Daxton picked it up, unfolding it with trembling hands. His name, dated 9 years ago. A letter she had written the week he left her. A letter she never sent. But it was in Ariana's hands. "How did you—" Bella gasped. Ariana smiled. "You forgot I worked at your dorm's admin office before I married him." Bella stared. Daxton looked from the letter to her. "You tried to reach me?" he asked, voice cracking. Bella nodded. "And you never—" He continued. "I didn't know you never got it," she said. "I thought you just didn't care." Silence. All three stood there, but something had changed. Bella's eyes were wet, but her voice was steel. "You can both keep the money, the parties, the violin. I just wanted you to see me." She turned and walked straight through the gala, past the musicians, past the lights, out the front door, into the night. Daxton stood frozen. And Ariana. She turned back to her seat. "Now she's unforgettable," she whispered, almost to herself. It had been 3 days. Bella hadn't returned to the restaurant. She ignored her manager's calls, ignored her co-workers' messages. She didn't even touch the violin again. She just existed. Her small apartment felt even smaller. Her once-beloved silence was now suffocating. She stood at the window, watching rain trace lazy trails down the glass. And for the first time in years, she wanted to disappear again. Across town, Daxton sat in his office, staring at the letter, Bella's handwriting, raw, messy, and emotional. It was the kind of letter that begged for closure and never got it. He read it again, and again. "She wrote to me," he whispered, voice hollow. She reached out, and he had never even known. That night he took a drive through Glen Cove, not knowing where he was going, until he found himself parked across the street from her apartment. Lights off, no movement, no music, just darkness. He sat there in the car for almost an hour, He didn't knock, didn't text, he just sat, hoping, waiting, wanting. But the windows stayed dark. Inside, Bella sat on the floor, letter in hand. She didn't even remember writing it, at least not word for word, but reading it again. Every sentence felt like a scar being reopened. "I waited for you," it said. "I wanted to believe you'd choose me, even if the world didn't." She closed her eyes, gripping the paper. The next morning, Bella woke to the sound of a knock. Not at her door, at her window. She looked out. There on the front step was a single white envelope. No name, just a handwritten note inside. "If there's even one note left in you for me, meet me where you first played." She stared at it for a long time. She could throw it away. She could burn it. She could walk out and never look back. But she didn't. The old community amphitheater in Glen Cove wasn't much. Just a half circle of concrete seats and a weather-stained stage under a canopy of fading oak trees. But once upon a time, it was where a 15-year-old Bella Jones played her first solo for a summer crowd that gave her the first applause she'd ever believed. That's where Daxton waited now, alone. In the same seat he sat in back then, when she didn't know yet what it meant to trust the wrong person. The wind picked up slightly. He checked his watch. 7:02 p.m. Maybe she wasn't coming. Maybe this was his punishment. Maybe he didn't deserve closure. And then he heard it. A soft sound. Not music. Footsteps. Bella stepped onto the stage. No violin, no makeup, no armor. Just her. She didn't smile. But she didn't leave either. Daxton stood slowly, quietly. "I didn't know what I was asking," he said. "I know," she replied. He gestured to the violin case on the bench beside him. "I brought yours," he said. "The one from Juilliard. I tracked it down." Her eyes flicked to the case, then to him. "You really think this ends in a duet?" she asked. He shook his head. "No. I think it ends with you finally playing for you. Not for me, not for them, just for you." She walked to the case, opened it, touched the wood like greeting a part of herself she'd left behind, and then, silently, she picked it up. She didn't announce the piece, didn't say a word. She just closed her eyes, tucked the violin under her chin, and played. It wasn't perfect. Her hands trembled. A note faltered. But the sound was alive again. Daxton sat down, slowly, watching, not with hunger, not with guilt, just respect. When she finished, she didn't look at him. She just exhaled, like she had been holding that breath for a decade. "I don't forgive you," she said finally. "I'm not asking for that," he said. "I don't trust you. I don't deserve it. But I see you now," she added. "And I think maybe I don't have to hate you to heal." Daxton nodded. That was enough. He stood, and just before walking away, he paused. "You made everyone in that room fall silent, Bella," he said, "but I was the only one who knew what that silence cost you." She didn't answer, but her eyes shimmered. He left. She stayed. And as the sun dipped behind the trees, Bella lifted the violin again and began to play for herself. No audience, no tip jar, just the girl she used to be, and the woman she was finally becoming. We all have a Bella inside us, someone underestimated, discarded or forgotten, and maybe we don't always get the apology, but sometimes we get the power back. If this story made you feel something, if you saw a piece of yourself in her, don't just scroll, subscribe, because these are the stories that remind us who we are and who we'll never be again.